I have officially run out of different ways to say Metroid Prime 4 is coming. But hey, you've seen the title and thumbnail, you know what this video is about. 10 things I really want to see in Metroid Prime 4 in order for it to be the biggest success this series has ever seen. After such a long build up, Retro will have to deliver big time, and by including these 10, I'd say they're already well on their way. Let's get started. Number 1. A well-crafted balance between familiarity and innovation. Now, to an extent this applies to every game ever, really. Few series ever completely reinvent the wheel or copy-paste their past game one-to-one. But for Prime 4, I feel like getting this balance right is more important than ever. The reason for that, on both ends of the balance, lies entirely in the state of the Prime series. Metroid Prime is a series which has been dormant since 2007, and no, Federation Force doesn't count. We're closing in on 20 years since we've been able to experience a new Prime game. As such, I think it would be wise to make sure this title doesn't completely reinvent itself and sticks to the core Prime formula. There are millions of potential Metroid fans out there who may have never played a Prime game, and the core formula of the sub-series is more than good enough already to keep them engaged. Fortunately, what we've seen from the game so far does seem pretty familiar, so I think at least the marketing team realized this is what we need. In fact, judging by some opinions I've heard, the trailer may have been a tad too conservative. Which leads right into the other end of the balance. It is also important to remember that the structure of this series is at its newest also almost 20 years old. And that means innovation and changes are necessary for this game to become the success we want it to be. But where those changes are made, that's what will decide the fate of Prime 4, which means that balance is gonna be absolutely vital. On to number 2, an example of new things I want to see. New beams and maybe even suits. I'm not too worried about this one myself, as all Prime games so far have included new suits and power-ups, but what I do want to add to this point is that I personally wouldn't go for another strongly overarching mechanic related to the suits, like Prime 2 did with the light and dark suit, and Prime 3 with the PED suit and hyper mode. I would prefer suits and upgrades that do a little simpler things, like new spins on the classic withstand heat, or new movement options we haven't had so far. As for beams, I want them to draw inspiration from the beam combos and include new and fun ways we can use them. This is more personal, but I also really don't want ammo to return from Prime 2, I was not a fan of that. Limited missiles are completely fine of course, but with my beams I prefer being able to keep blasting away personally. As for my stance on stacking versus switching, Prime 3 being the odd one out that had beams replace each other instead of being able to rotate through them, I personally kinda liked stacking, even if switching does allow for more personality and unique opportunities with the powers. Stacking is just so much more convenient, but I'm honestly fine either way. Next we have number 3, a compelling villain. In my opinion, this has been the Metroid series' biggest Achilles heel throughout its life. It has many iconic and cool villains like Ridley, Dark Samus and Mother Brain, but their motivations and characterizations are basically non-existent or fairly generic. Ravenbeak is definitely a step into the right direction though, and I really hope Retro look at how Mercury's team handled that and approach Sylux in a similar way. We currently don't know too much about him, but it really needs to change in this game. Another Dark Samus, which looks ominous and is cool to fight, but has no personality or motivation, would really hurt the quality and potential of this game I think. Metroid is in dire need of more compelling characters, and Sylux is, no pun intended, a prime candidate to fill that role. And that doesn't mean I want endless dialogue, you can do a lot through environmental storytelling. But more about that later. First we get to number 4, a better map system. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I've always struggled with how the map works in the Prime games. It's very clear the map system of Metroid was built for 2D, and in my opinion it had a rough transition into 3D. The way the map is 3D itself and you can rotate it never completely clicked for me. There are several parts in every game where I feel like I'm fighting it instead of it helping me. Especially with multiple floors, it can become really confusing to know what leads where. The trailer does already give us a little sneak peek into how the map works, and it doesn't look too different yet, but I can't know whether my problems are fixed until the map menu is opened and the layout of the environment becomes more complicated than the hallways of the trailer. Furthermore, this game also desperately needs Dread's way of indicating which rooms you have visited, as well as custom markers you can place for things of note you want to come back to. I also like what Prime 3 did with the item map, so that can come back too, as far as I'm concerned. On to number 5, using Samus's gunship in an interesting way. Prime 4 wouldn't be the first game in the series to try to use Samus's gunship more, but I definitely feel like the right way to use it has yet to be found. I enjoyed how Prime 3 uses it almost like a checkpoint of sorts, while being a way to fast travel at the same time, but the way it uses it for combat never fully clicked with me. If the game once again goes for a multiple planets motif, I think it would be cool if we could fly between the planets ourselves. Not fully open world, don't worry, I'm thinking more like how The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker worked with the Great Sea. Very simply put, that game basically had you traveling yourself from important location to important location, scattering interesting islands and things to find in between. I think something similar could work here as well, without straying from the Metroid formula too much. And if it does appear, it would make for perfect functionality for the gunship. And number 6 kinda ties into similar themes, being more freedom. Again, that does not mean open world. But freedom, and especially the freedom to explore, is Metroid heritage, and it's a big desire from players in the current gaming landscape. So put 1 and 2 together and I can see good things happening. When I mean freedom, I'm talking about the opportunity to do things out of order, skip things entirely, go off the beaten path, and solve puzzles in multiple ways. The first 2 have already featured in Metroid many times, mostly unintentional. But now would be a perfect time to embrace it and make the game a tad less linear. Again, I don't mean fully open world, you can fight the final boss immediately kinda talk. I mean, you need 5 keys to fight the boss of this world, go find them in any order you want. That's the kind of freedom that suits Metroid, and I really want to see more of that. On to number 7, which also ties into something I've mentioned before. Make sure scans reach the maximum of their potential. Scanning is Prime 101. You're constantly reminded to do it, and if you don't, the first Prime game barely has a plot. It also adds a ton of very interesting lore to the worlds of Prime 3, and that is definitely a step in the right direction. All 3 games in the trilogy are very top heavy when it comes to scans. As the games go on, the frequency of interesting things to scan decreases, and it's a real shame because it's so unnecessary. This way of storytelling through optional texts and environmental elements has become a lot more common and popular since 2007, and series like Dark Souls have shown you can do some amazing world building and storytelling without hours of cutscenes and forced readings. This suits Metroid so well, because it allows for tons of interesting stories and character development, like I already explained the series lacks, without interfering with the sense of being alone and lost on a distant and dangerous planet. The first games already did something like this, so we're on the right track, but Prime 4 presents an opportunity to unleash its full potential. And if you want to skip all of it, that's also fine. You can just stop by my channel and let me explain it to you when the time comes. Number 8, a quick save option. It's genuinely mind-boggling to me that Dread and Prime Remastered don't have this function. It's so easy, it hurts no one, and a console like the Switch that you can play on your TV but also take with you, it feels like a must-have. And don't get me wrong, this is not about getting rid of save stations or introducing more checkpoints, that's not what this is. I'm not one of the purists who would be strongly against saving everywhere, like basically all games nowadays, but I think quick saves are the minimum this game needs to appeal to a bit more of a broader audience. Very simple, if you're getting a call, your doorbell rings, you forgot your charger, you suddenly have to go, your kid, nephew, husband, best friend wants to play a different game, you need to be able to stop at any time. Just a little quick save, not permanent, it's deleted when you start the game up again. It really feels like a must-have in my opinion. On to number 9, a fitting position for this. No more late game fetch quests. I don't care if this cuts the game time by an hour or 2, this kind of stuff is disrespectful of a player's time and should be left in the 2000s. Either make a compelling reason for me to revisit every world or don't do it. I can accept the way Prime 3 did it, where it's optional, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for collectibles to reward exploration, keenness and puzzle solving, but do not make it mandatory to find everything. And definitely do not wait to tell me about it until I'm almost done with the game. Fortunately, I think chances of another late game fetch quest are very low. I can imagine Retro and Nintendo still thinking it's a good idea in 2024, but I felt I had to mention it anyway. It genuinely hinders my excitement of playing the first 2 Prime games, so it's no small issue. And last but not least, number 10, tons of optional content. I want to be able to find plenty of stuff optionally. That can be weapons, lore, power-ups, collectibles, whatever you want to call it. This also ties into the aspect of freedom, of course, and the idea I brought up with the gunship of an explorable space system also lends itself very well for this. Optional content really helps make each playthrough unique, not just from your friends, but also from your own previous ones. And since Metroid is a series heavily reliant on multiple playthroughs, going all out with this would be a big boon in my opinion. What has me a little worried though is that optional content is not really in vogue right now. With how much time and money goes into game development, everything becomes something you want players to experience, making the decision to say, no, not everyone will see this, more difficult to make. But I do hope the developers are brave enough to say it, because I think it would really help make Prime 4 an unforgettable experience. And for number 11, we desperately need a release date. Make it happen, Nintendo. For now, this is all from me. What do you want to see in Prime 4? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed my takes, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Metroid content coming up, Prime 4 and everything beyond. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.